This is a quick introduction to the Starry Landscape Stacker application. This is the way it comes up. It's asking for some files to read in. So I'm going to select some images here. I'm using Command-click to add files to the selection. There's a whole bunch of TIFF files here piled together, so I have to pick each one individually. So it's read in the 3 TIFF files that I selected, and it's attempted to find stars, and it's using stars as an indicator of where the sky is, and it's painted a red dot everywhere it thinks it's found a star. It's also found a highlight down here, which it thinks is a star. So we're going to clean that up, but first let's look a little bit at what we have available right now. One of the things we can do is we can zoom in, and we could do that either with the button here or with the Z key. And then we can adjust the brightness of our image if that'll help see some details that we need to see. We have some brightness and contrast controls here. We can also hide and show the overlay, which has our dots representing our stars right now. We can vary the opacity of that, make our dots more visible. And the other thing we can do is we can step through the images that we've read in, and also the image we're looking at. The image we're looking at is the composite. It's the average of the 3 images that we read in, but we also have the 3 original images. And we can zoom in on these images to see why we're doing this averaging. So here's the composite, the result of doing the averaging. And here's back one of the input images, and we can see that the average has got this problem where the stars are blurred, and that's the problem that the Starry Landscape Stacker fixes. But it also, the average image also has the advantage of having a lot less noise. So what we want to do is we want to have this lower noise and have the stars all nice and crisp at the same time. And that's what we're going to do as we work our way through with Starry Landscape Stacker. So I zoom back out by hitting the Z key again. What I'm going to do is select Remove Red Dots, and our cursor has changed. We're going to click on this dot here to get rid of it because that really isn't a star. We could undo that if we really wanted to, if it was a mistake. Okay, so that's gone. Now I'm going to switch to adding some red dots in the sky. Now, in some images, in some areas, it's really hard for Starry Landscape Stacker to tell the difference between sky and ground, and sometimes it has difficulty finding any stars at all in some large areas if the sky is particularly bright or particularly dark. And the particularly dark case happens up over here. So what I'm doing is I'm just sort of painting in red dots right now. I'm saying that, yeah, I know you haven't found any stars here, but pretend that there are some stars there. And this is going to help it do a much better job of cutting the mask for us to separate the sky from the ground. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to move this out of the way, and we're going to find the sky. So it's cut a mask automatically, and it's pretty good, although we have to zoom in and we might have to clean it up a bit. It's quite common that there are a few details. Oh, here's a little bit of a star that found its way into the ground. It wasn't blue. And here's a little piece of sky with some stars in it that wasn't painted blue. Blue means sky, and unpainted means ground. And over here, it's gone a little bit funny. So I'm going to switch to painting ground by hitting the G key. And let's toggle. I don't know, I think I'm going to change the size of the brush with the square brackets, but I could also do it with the slider over here. Square brackets like you would if you were using Photoshop. Okay, that looks better. Maybe something, oh, and that's got a problem over there. So you get the general idea here that I'm toggling the overlay on and off to get a better view. I could probably turn it down to help a bit. And I'm working my way along here, looking for obvious errors. And that's, the general scheme. You just work your way along, toggle things on and off. Let's go back to painting ground, use a bigger brush, because there's some obvious mistakes here. It's okay to go a little bit into the sky as long as we're not hitting any stars here as we're painting ground. You don't want ground to be considered sky, because when it moves the sky around to line up the stars, if it moves the ground around as well, it's just going to blur the ground. And you would like to avoid having stars in the ground, because that's, again, when it does a composite without moving the stars around, then it's just going to result in a blur. So that's good enough for now. You get the idea of what you have to do. I'm going to switch to painting sky. I'm going to zoom out. I'm going to go to a very large brush. I'm just going to run along the edge here because I can see some spots along the edge that didn't get painted. Let's bring the opacity way up so you can see any problems. Oh, there's a problem right over here, so let's zoom in on that. Go to a smaller brush so I can actually hit it. Smaller brush, something like that. Okay, that looks good enough. And we had aligned stars. So what the Starry Landscape Stacker is doing now is looking at everywhere where it's painted blue, so anywhere that's sky, and it's taking the images, the sky parts of the three images that we have, and it's shifting them around to line up the stars. So this is our resulting image, and if we zoom in again up in this corner we were looking at before, we can see that our stars are nice and sharp now, and they're moved around relative to our original images. And we can see also, here's an original image, here's the composite, the original image, and the result, that there is lower noise in the generated image from Starry Landscape Stacker. So the last thing we have to do here is to save. You can hit the save button here or Command S. I'm going to change the name we're going to save this as to test. But I always leave this checked here. We're also going to save as, in this case, test-sky.tif, the sky portion of the image with the mask. And then in test.tif we'll have the whole image. We can import both of those images into Photoshop, and we can make our final adjustments where we make adjustments to the sky separately from the ground. And that can be quite useful at times. So I'll just hit save here, and yep, there's already a test.tif here. I'll replace that. And it's writing out a 16-bit TIFF image, so we have preserved all the quality that we can in our images, and we're done.